What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Solace by Alter Bridge. This song is not on any of the 4 albums. It is actually a B-side that was recorded during the One Day Remains era and has never been released. So I found this on Mark Tremonti's The Sound of the Story DVD, and I loved hearing this as an acoustic guitar part. And a few weeks ago, maybe a month, I got a request to do it. And I've just been ridiculously busy since then, but I finally got enough time to be able to make this video. So hopefully you enjoy this and it helps out. Alright, tuning wise, the guitar is in drop D down a half step. And if you don't know what that is, I will put the tuning in the description. But there's a lot to get through with this part, so I'm going to try and do it as fast and as clear as possible. Alright, so let's get started. You're going to start with your your first finger on the 2nd fret of the low D string, your pinky on the 5th fret of the middle D string, and your ring finger on the 4th fret of the G string. And this guitar part is finger picked, so if you haven't done much finger picking, I suggest you practice it a little bit first. You're going to pretty much be using the same pick pattern, just with different shapes in this part. So you're going to start by hitting the 2 D notes, the 2nd and the 5th fret. Alright, after that you're going to hit the low D, the G, the middle D, and the low D. I'll do that slowly. Alright, so just keep that pick pattern in mind. Alright, the next shape, you're going to move where your first finger is on the 4th fret of the low D, your pinky is on the 7th fret of the middle D, and your middle finger is on the G string, 5th fret. You can do that same pick pattern, the 2 D notes, low D, G, D, and low D. Alright, those 2 shapes from the beginning. Alright, next shape, you're going to have your first finger on the 5th fret of the low D, your pinky on the 9th fret of the middle D, and your middle finger on the 7th fret of the G string, the same pick pattern. Alright, and that is really what I like to call the skeleton of the guitar part. Everything revolves around these 3 shapes, and they form the main part of the guitar part, so keep that in mind. We'll be using those shapes a lot. Alright, I'll do those 3 parts slowly. One more time. Alright. Then you're going to take your first finger to the 10th fret of the low D, your pinky on the middle D string, 14th fret, and your middle finger on the 12th fret of the G. You can do that same pick pattern. Alright, then you're going to go back to that 3rd shape, starting on the 5th fret, and do that same pick pattern. Alright, and after you get down to that low D note, you're going to take your pinky from the 9th fret on the middle D and move it to the 10th fret, hit those 2 D notes, put it back on the 9th fret, hit those 2 D notes, and then take that finger off and put your middle finger down on the 7th fret of the middle D. So it's 5th fret low D, 7th fret middle D, hit those 2 notes. Alright, so that guitar, that part. After you do that, you're going to hit those 2 D notes again with your middle finger on the 7th fret and the hammer on to the 9th fret of the middle D. Alright, after you do that, you have your first finger on the 5th fret of the low D, pinky 9th fret of the middle D, and you're going to hit the low D, open G string, 9th fret on the D, and take your first finger off the low D so that's open. Alright, that entire part so far. After that, you're going to hit the 4th fret on the middle D, open low D, and then you're going to hit the 2 D notes together with your first finger on the 4th fret of the middle D. You're going to hammer onto the 5th fret, pull off to the 4th, and then pull that off to the open string. Alright, and that is the first time through the riff. So I'll do this entire thing slowly. Alright. You're going to start back at the beginning with those first 3 chords. Alright. Instead of sliding up to the 10th fret, you're going to take that up a whole step to where your first finger is on the 12th fret of the low D, pinky is on the 16th fret of the middle D, and your middle finger is on the 14th fret of the G. And you're going to do that pick pattern again. Alright, after that you're going to slide your fingers down to where your first finger is barring the bottom 2 strings on the 10th fret, pinky on the 14th of the D, and your middle finger 12 on the G. You're going to hit the low D and the G string. Alright, then you're going to descend 14 on the D, 10 on the A, and then 10 on the low D. So, that part. Alright, and now that, well, you have your fingers in the right spot, you're going to hit the 2 D notes, the 10 on the low D, 14 on the middle D. You take that finger off to where it's 10th fret low D and 12th fret on the middle D, those 2 D notes. And then with your first finger barring, you're going to actually hit those 2 D notes with the 10th fret on both D strings and hit that. Alright. Alright. Then you're going to put your first finger on the 5th fret of the low D and pinky on the 9th fret of the middle D. Hit those 2 D notes. Low D, open G string, 9th fret on the middle D, 5th fret low D. Alright. After that, you're going to hit those 2 D notes and then slide up with your pinky on the 12th fret, or to the 12th fret of the middle D. Alright? After that, you're gonna take your pinky off, so it's open low D, 10th fret on the middle D, hit those two D notes, pull off to the 9th fret, and slide to the 7th. Alright, so that is the entire big part number 2. Alright, so you got those two big parts. You're going to repeat the first part again. And then you're going to repeat the second part. Except when you get there and you do the 14, 12, 10 on the two D strings, you're just going to take your first finger, move it up to the 5th fret on the D and A string, and your pinky on the 7th fret of the middle D string, and you're just going to hit that chord. Alright, so I'm going to play all 4 times through with the endings. First I'll do it slowly, and then I'll do it full speed. Alright, so hopefully this video helped you guys out. I'm sorry it was a little bit sloppy. I was just in a hurry to get this video out and finally answer that request. But hopefully this video helped you out, and I will be starting a new series very soon. So stick around for more videos.